This movie couldn't be coming out at a worse time. That's the first reaction I had when I saw James Gunn's Superman's teaser. The film's highly anticipated, apparently the most anticipated if you see IMDB. So it goes without saying it will be the make or break factor in determining whether or not the upcoming DCU will continue to dish out movies. Let's be honest, Warner Brothers have already lost a ton, and I mean a ton of money trying to recreate the magic that the MCU once did. Needless to say, they couldn't. Whether Snyderverse was good or bad is an entirely different conversation, but the fact remains that it was still a massive financial blow to an already teetering Warner Brothers media. And it's not even just that they lost a ton of money. The DCEU was never able to become a critical success or garner any kind of fan interest that would keep the franchise going. Enter James Gunn. The man's known to ignite interest in characters that were previously considered B-list and make them mainstream and financially successful. So on paper, if there's one man who can reinvigorate the failing DC comic book movies, it is James Gunn. The teaser trailer, which looked good, dropped a few weeks ago and I watched it intently many a times. And I won't mince my words, Superman 2025 will fail. Well, it's just the opinion of a hobbyist YouTuber who's also a lifelong fan of the DC comics, which means part of me wants it to succeed so I can finally see live-action Superman becomes the flagship character that leads the superhero genre into the future while I live and breathe. But Gunn couldn't have chosen a worse time or circumstances to release his magnum opus under. It's not news to anybody that the genre is almost dead. We are at the end times. You know it's bad when a behemoth like the MCU has to bring back Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans, two people who had perfectly concluded their character and story arcs, just to generate some fan interest and hope that the nostalgia factor kicks in to give the ticket sales a much needed boost. But it's not something that just happened overnight with no rhyme or reason. The woke agenda, terribly told stories, absence of an ongoing narrative, and characters that make you question why you're still sticking around has alienated the bulk of the audience. Don't tell me about Deadpool and Wolverine, that was a one-time thing and we all know it. And as I mentioned before, the DCEU was never as big of a player as the MCU was. Which means Gunn is trying to establish a film universe at the least opportune time. Remember the good old days, the pre-pandemic era? It felt like every single comic book movie was an event of a lifetime. The skyrocketing fan interest, that buzz in the air, the energy, the unquestionable excitement, a time when a shitty movie like Captain Marvel made $1 billion and a complete train wreck like Batman vs Superman's theatrical cut nearly cracked the $1 billion mark, something that just vanished after Avengers Endgame. We could see some signs of a momentary resurgence with movies like Spider-Man No Way Home and the aforementioned Deadpool and Wolverine, but it's not just been the same now, has it? Here's my theory. The Infinity Saga's final chapter, which is Avengers Endgame, was like a climax for the comic book movie fans. All the dream scenarios, much awaited team-ups, and picture-perfect endings for long-standing characters were finally achieved. There was nothing left. People were, I don't know, just satisfied. It's been 5+ years and I don't think that the audiences can bring themselves to feel like that anytime soon.
Wait, hold on. How is this now about me?
I know this isn't a video about the MCU, but I had to tell you all just how and when the genre died. And with Superman being sort of a cursed character when it comes to live action, I just don't think it's the brightest of ideas. David Corenswet is a fine actor and a pretty good fit to play Supes. Standing at a majestic 6'4" with a solid build and a great looking face, on paper he's the quintessential guy to portray the last son of Krypton. But we've already seen perfect. So good isn't good enough. People are often polarized when it comes to Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, Dawn of Justice, and Zack Snyder's Justice League. No one's polarized about Joss Whedon's version, it was complete bullshit. But one thing people almost universally loved about the three aforementioned movies was Henry Cavill's portrayal of Superman. That guy is Superman in real life. A textbook nerd who loves gaming and comic books, with the face of a Greek god and the build of an Olympic athlete, along with a personality and charm that's almost too good to be true. It's like the guy was born to play Superman. And even though not everybody enjoyed the stories that he played Soups in, his portrayal in and of itself was essentially perfect. There's no other way to describe it. And no matter what Cotton Sweat does, Cavill's shoes will forever be too big for him to fill, in my opinion. And the horrible costume really doesn't help. I don't know who in the blue hell approved of this shite, but my god, it looks bad. Talk about a massive downgrade on every single level. We went from essentially the best looking Superman costume we have ever seen to this third-rate cosplay looking suit which somehow got approved and is supposed to be donned by the poster child of a $200 million plus superhero epic. Cotton Sweat has clearly worked really hard and added a ton of muscle to his frame, something that the suit doesn't even complement. It fits so poorly around the shoulders and the legs it almost looks loose. What the f***? I'm sure the defense for this will be that it was made in a barn by Martha Kent or something, but it still doesn't make any sense to let it look so awkward. You see, the costume of a superhero is a big deal. It is literally attached to the titular character's identity. Look how perfect Iron Man's armor was, or Captain America's suit in Winter Soldier for that matter. Or take the DC characters for a change. Wonder Woman looked like the perfect Amazonian princess. The Flash's suit looked like it was assembled by a guy who knows what he needs but didn't have time or resources to care about aesthetics. So pretty accurate. Cyborg, who wasn't wearing a costume, I agree, but his outlook was so incredible, and even Aquaman looked very aesthetic in his costume. But god, this has to be one of the worst superhero costumes I have ever seen in my entire life. We went from this to this. What a bad fucking choice. Even in the new TV spot, Cotton Sweat looks just plain simple bad. For some insane reason, he doesn't even look like himself and has squint eyes. And James Gunn said there's no CGI on his face, but then what the hell is wrong with him? You know what? Maybe they should use some CGI there. I'm still divided when it comes to this point, but I'm gonna lean towards
Not a great plan.
the movie isn't about a team like the Guardians of the Galaxy was, it's really just about Superman. So when I found out that it plans to introduce not one, not two, not even three, but 5 other superheroes, and it's in a film that's the first in a brand new franchise, it just looks like a recipe for disaster. There's Metamorpho, Mr. Terrific, 2 Justice League core members in Hawkgirl and Guy Gardner's Green Lantern, and then there's also a Supergirl cameo. Even if you consider Metamorpho and Mr. Terrific as not so popular or side characters, how in the hell are they gonna give solid backstories and establish Hawkgirl and Green Lantern in the universe in this film? As I said, it's not a Justice League movie, it's a Superman movie. Well, it's gonna be a monumental task to say the least. I'm willing to bet that even the 150-minute runtime will not be able to do justice to the aforementioned characters. Whereas Supergirl's appearance is just a cameo, so it should be fine. And since she's getting an entire movie which comes out next year, which I think is a terrible idea in and of itself, I digress, but her limited appearance shouldn't be a problem. And then there's this problem. Love it or hate it, Snyder's version of Superman and the DCEU as a whole is still too fresh of a memory to be erased and start over. Many people might disagree with me, but think about it. The last DCEU film released just over a year ago, which was Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, and Superman is coming out in July 2025. Which means there'll be all of 18 months for people to forget all the things that happened before and give this brand new franchise a chance. I've spoken to many fans of the superhero genre, and I was shocked that about roughly 30% of the people don't even know about the recasting of Superman. Granted that they were not hardcore fans, they were eagerly awaiting the next chapter, but that's still about 30% of the audience who thought Man of Steel 2 was coming out after Cavill's cameo in Black Adam. And then there's the plethora of people who are fans of the Snyderverse, and Cavill in particular, who are not even willing to give this film a chance. Public perception might change a little bit in the next 6 months, but it still looks like Superman 2025 is fighting an uphill battle. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. But that's it for today, people. I'm gonna go eat some octopus.